Northwest Now for the Northwest Oklahoma City Chamber, and I'm here today with Tommie Johnson, candidate for sheriff. So tell me a little bit about your background.
So my background, I've been an Oklahoma City kid my entire life. I was born and raised in the south side of Oklahoma City. Passion for baseball, and that's what allowed me to see the world. It's what actually allowed me to go to school. I went to Eastern Oklahoma State. I went to Arkansas Little Rock, and I graduated from East Central, where I did some coaching. I initially didn't want to be a police officer. It was honestly not the preferred profession coming from where I come from, but I had a friend that used to train me in the off seasons, and he said, "Tommie, I think you would really like it. You have to understand that team sports and policing, the profession, they really parallel each other as far as beliefs and a group of individuals working together to accomplish a larger goal." And I could always support that and get around that, because that's, I see things through a sports lens. That's what I've done my entire life. And I went on a ride along with him and fell in love. It's nothing you see like on Live PD or when you watch Cops or those shows, you look for the action. None of that happened in our ride along. We went on some domestic disturbances where we helped individuals solve issues, pulled over a couple people in traffic, and really just engaged with the public. And after that, I saw a different perspective that wasn't afforded to me when I was coming up, and I just truly fell in love. So I set out to become an officer, and it was my passion. I started in 2012 at the University of Oklahoma and the police department there, and I've had a tremendous career ever since. I mean, my leaders and my chiefs and the people who were in charge of me saw leadership capabilities and leadership qualities, and they saw it very soon, and they put me in positions where I could not only develop as a leader, but learn different aspects of the police department in general. So at the University of Oklahoma, I served as a dignitary. To any of y'all who are familiar with OU football, which if you're in Oklahoma, I hope you would be. Dignitary is more a solo protection. You are responsible for the protection of an individual. And my detail was the referees who work game days. And if you've ever been to an OU football game and those referees make a bad call, you understand that they need more protection out of anybody in this entire state. So I thought that was a great opportunity to have. Also was able to serve and supervise a multi-jurisdictional team. And our job was to keep, the game day safe, keep an area or a section of the stadium safe. And my opponent has really looked down on that supervision ability, that quality, that supervision opportunity that I had. But what I will say is threats come in many forms, and if y'all are familiar with OU, there's been an attempt on OU before. We have had a bomb explode outside of OU, so that is a very, very important job, to keep your eye on fans and potential threats, and it's very consuming, mentally taxing. I thought this was a great opportunity though, because this allowed me to work with other individuals, different agencies, and guide guys to let them know, what we were there to accomplish. So I left the university in 2015 because I understood that I wanted more out of my career. I wanted to see more, I wanted to accomplish more, I wanted to be introduced to more situations, and obviously to a larger agency. And at 2015, I transferred to the City of Norman Police Department, where I still work and I'm still patrolling, I'm still in the streets. My title there is a Master Police Officer. And I will tell you, my experience there and for my leadership to put me in different positions again has been absolutely tremendous, and my career has been a blessing. At the City of Norman Police Department, I've served in the budgeting committee. The budgeting committee is responsible for establishing pay and benefits. We negotiate, set up, and then negotiate the contracts that we take to the city. After negotiations, it is then in contract for the next fiscal year, and that's how guys get pay and benefits, and we essentially lobby for police officers. That was a great experience when you talk about managing budgets, and when you talk about pay and benefits, and then the negotiation process. There's a lot of give and take in that process. I believe that is what will make me a viable candidate, make me the best candidate in the Oklahoma County Sheriff's race, because I have a great understanding of working with other individuals that have goals that they want to accomplish. I have goals that we wanted to accomplish on behalf of the officers that work at the agency, and to find a middle ground, to meet in the middle so that we can both get what we want. I think that's a great thing that I bring to the table. Also, selected to the hiring board. It is very important to be able to critique and be able to look at and evaluate the guys and the men and women who are coming into our department. I think that is a very noble, a very prestigious position to be appointed to. Also, recruiting. I've been recruiting several times, a great recruiter. My numbers are very good, and it's because I understand the temperament, I understand the characteristics of a good officer, somebody who can be firm, fair, but just at the end of the day. And these qualities I could seek out, and I was very good at it. Also there, the uniform committee, so how we approach, how we look to our citizens in every discipline that we serve, whether it's SWAT or to patrol, we were in control of designating what was suitable for us to how we represented ourselves in those different disciplines. So been able to be spread out amongst the department and have a insight and knowledge base on how the inner workings of the department are. Now when you look at outside the department, the things that I've been interested in, and the one thing is like working with kiddos and at-risk youth. So I worked with a behavioral specialist at Kennedy Elementary, and what we did was we targeted at-risk youth. We would identify them. I would start working with them, become a role model. I would just talk with them, get into their lives, because these kids are going through so much that we don't understand. We just don't see, because they're dealing with so much at home, and then they come to school, and then that at school is where they usually act out. And I was able to generate some good relationship with kiddos. They would call me off duty, and if I was on duty, I'd go by and sit and talk with them, whether it's having breakfast, whether it's just pulling them out of class, and we sit and talk about their day and the decisions they've made. And I thought that was very powerful. It's so big that we're even in the process of creating what's called a gentleman's club, because we don't want chivalry to die. We want our young men in life, our young men in society, to understand how to treat a woman and what that looks like and the characteristics you need to have, because we don't want good mannerisms, good gentleman-like qualities to leave us, especially in today's day and age with a lot of single mother homes being represented. We want to have that strong father figure, that strong manly figure in young men's life. So the Gentlemen's Club is next. Also, I was blessed with the opportunity. My chief himself, out of everyone in the department, called me and said, would I accept the Centennial Award on behalf of our city? I thought this was amazing, because what this did was, this pointed out, not only did it point out, it showed what he thought of me and what he thought about my leadership characteristics, that he would come to me personally and say, accept this award, because that is a very prestigious award to accept. Just to give you a little clarification, or to put it in a situation where you can understand, our fire department accepted the award on the same day, and their chief of police or their chief of fire accepted this award. So that shows you where it is and the level it was, and for him to allow me to have that moment and accept that was truly amazing. And I thought that to the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office I could bring better leadership and a fresh perspective, because clearly if you look around the climate today, that our citizens are asking more of our agencies, to be involved more, to have more transparency, to be protective. And I know I can offer that. From my diverse experience throughout the different departments in which I've served, it's allowed me to have the knowledge and the insight to be able to come to Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office and make tremendous strides. Now, my first priority is to get body cams. Body cams are so important, and they're important because it protects not only the citizen, but it also protects the officer, and it holds people accountable. It gives us an accurate representation of everything that happens on scene that cannot be disputed. And I believe in this, and these are things that I want to attack first, because I was completely outraged that the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office did not have body cams. So we've looked into that, and for about $150,000 we can start the program. $65,000 every year after that we can continue the program. Also, I want to get more officer pay. And when people hear more officer pay, they think about spending more money, but it's not to spend money, it's to save money. Because currently, what we have going on with the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office is that we bring good men and women in, we train them up. Once they get trained, they leave our agency to go to other agencies to make a more livable wage. Now, I'll tell you, it costs more to train than it costs to retain. When you look at the rate we're training officers and then they're leaving, that expense far exceeds what we would do if we just invested in what we have there and promote longevity. And through longevity, it promotes pride in the agency, and that's what I want to do. Also, when you talk about criminal justice reform, I really am a big pusher for criminal justice reform. I understand that it needs to happen. I just want to make sure that what we're doing isn't at a risk to public safety, because public safety is paramount and this should be the first priority. Meanwhile, we need to look at better ways of achieving these goals and making things fair for everyone, and I understand that. And these are things that I believe the sheriff needs to have a say at and a seat at the table, because when you talk about criminal justice reform, you have legislators who are trying to change these rules or put on state questions that I don't think they have the perspective that an officer would have. And officers have a unique perspective because we understand what it's like when this law goes out and we have to uphold and defend it, and when we have to also utilize these laws and the way they affect our communities and the way we police. And so that's why I want to have more of a say in criminal justice reform. I also want to have more of a presence at the state capitol. I believe when we talk about criminal justice reform and everything in that regard, we also need to have a say in legislation and what that looks like, because that goes hand in hand when it comes to providing a service for the community and the way that looks. So with the body cams, with criminal justice reform, with making better, just having a better relationship with our community, more now than ever, we need that. We need to be more transparent in that regard. And transparency comes in two ways with me. Transparency is getting out in the community and providing understanding. I want to get into the schools with the SROs and have them teach assemblies that will do interactions with an officer. This would give our youth the knowledge and the understanding of what we are looking for on a traffic stop and what we are doing in our protocols. And this would allow them to understand when they're in an enforcement situation, I understand why he's doing that. It's not offensive to me. He's just trying to stay safe, and meanwhile understanding what's going on.
What is an SRO?
An SRO is a school resource officer. That's the infrastructure that we already have in place, the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office. And as far as the SRO go, I want to move this out to get very specific with our municipalities. I want to use our COP office. COP is Community Oriented Police Office. And what we would do here is we would host town halls with the respective communities within Oklahoma County. And this would do two things. This would also provide understanding and why we operate the way we operate, but two, it would allow the community, that specific community, to invest in their own safety. Because I truly believe that if you invest in your community, you unconsciously give them permission to invest in their own safety. And these town halls, what they would do is it would create conversation, it would identify problems for that specific area, and it would allow us to effectively police that area specifically. And once again, it would give the citizens in that area a voice that they need to keep them safe, because they know where the problems are at where they live. So getting to the community, we need body cams for accountability, being able to have a seat at the table at criminal justice reform and then legislation at the state capitol. And then the next thing we want to do is, in that people dismiss, but it's the reason why we're in the situation we're in now, is that understanding that the sheriff's office does have a business component to it. And we need to understand that the lack of transparency in the past, as we saw from the 2017 audit that was performed, $3 million worth of assets just went up and missing. Nobody knows where they were. Nobody knows where it went. And we're not even sure if there are safeguards in place to make sure that that never happens again. Transparency comes in multiple forms, and the transparency I want to provide is transparency of our books, something in layman terms, because you can look on the county website at what we get, but unless you're familiar with the codes, and when you're looking through our pay and benefits, you're looking through our budget, you won't understand it. So I want something that the layman person can read, and we would push this out. We would promote it on our personal Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office page. And this is something that people can look at and see where their money's going, where it's coming in from, because the citizens of Oklahoma County deserve to know how their money is being spent. I truly believe in that. So that's what we need to do. We need to understand that there is a business element to this, make sure our money is spent wisely, and is spent on things that will benefit the county. And with that, we need to also understand that law and order must exist. Law and order ensures that our businesses come here to have safety and assets, and that they're protected, as well as the citizens who move here. The first thing each of these entities do, whether you're a business, whether you're a citizen moving to Oklahoma County, you're going to look and see, what is the law enforcement like there? Do they protect people? Is this community safe? That's why law and order is very important, because we need to understand that the safety of people is paramount, because businesses move here to thrive and help our community thrive. They need protection and safety for their assets. Families move here because they want a safe space to raise their kiddos and to live. And that's why that is so important, and that's why that is a major focus in my campaign.
What would you see as your role as a community leader, not just of the Sheriff's Department, but really in Central Oklahoma?
The one thing I think, being black and in this situation, to me, that only does one thing. It doesn't make me a better leader than anybody else, but what it would do is give me a different perspective. I have always encouraged diversity within our police departments, within our agencies, because diversity encourages conversation. Diversity encourages different perspectives to come to the table. And we need our police departments and the other agencies like the county sheriff's office, we need them to mimic the communities we serve. I understand the value I bring to the agency and where I work, because I can't fault my white counterparts. They don't know what they don't know. That's no fault of theirs, they just don't have the perspective I have. But when we're in the same room, when we can come together and converse and communicate, I say, well, I see it this way, and this is from my past experience and what I bring to the table. They can tell me the way they see it, and from that communication, going forward, we make better decisions when we're enforcing the law, and from better decisions come creating a safer place, safer spaces for everyone involved. That's why I think diversity is so encouraged, and why I encourage it a lot. I have a number of forms of ways to do this, especially when you're trying to, get out and reach into the black community. The one thing are hairstyles. A lot of hairstyles within the black community are culturally based. So when you talk about dreads, we afford women with long hair on the police department to pull their hair back for safety. Why can't we allow this for black men and women who choose to have dreads? Because currently, to be a man and work for our agency, you have to have shortcut hair. I think these are other ways, just looking and being culturally aware, that we can get a further reach into different communities and have more representation from everybody involved in Oklahoma County, and this allows us to produce a better product.
Are there things that you would do to help other members of the leadership structure learn more about ways that they can respond?
Yes,
better?
and this goes back to the town halls that I want to do in each and every community, each and every municipality. That's why that's so important. It's important that police put themselves out there and have these tough conversations, because I can honestly say law enforcement as a profession has really failed in the past years of doing that. Everything's so secretive. It's so like, hey, we got to keep it to ourselves. Well, no, it doesn't have to be. If people understand what to expect from you, if they understand the way to react when you're around or why you do what you do, then they react and respond better, because it's no longer a secret and we can keep people out of harm's way. That goes with each and every community. The black community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community. These are all communities that we need to reach out to, because we need them to understand why police do what they do and why we respond the way we respond to certain situations.
The responsibility of the jail no longer being within the sheriff's office, what are some of the more important tasks that the sheriff's office should be involved with now?
The more important task that the sheriff's office should be involved in is, one, getting out into the community, and that is very paramount. Two, it is bolstering our presence in the areas in which we're responsible to serve. I understand a lot of people think Bolster and Presence is over policing the area, but it's exactly the opposite. Bolstering our presence allows us to be there, because presence, the mere presence of an officer, deters crime. It deters crime. It makes it go down. We're able to be there and proactive to respond to things. We're able to be there and, quickly get to a scene. I just think this makes the community safer. We can have better relationships within our communities, because we can stop and say hi to individuals who live in the area. Once again, this is investing in the community. So I think the number one thing is getting into our communities, and as well bolstering our presence.
Looking at you and your opponent, both have some very good backgrounds and I think intentions. Why should people vote for you and not for him?
Well, the reason being, and I can say this, he doesn't have a plan. Him, as well as the predecessor, PD, those were great guys. They had tons of experience, but experience without a plan gets us nowhere. The communities are public. The Oklahoma County citizens want to know, what are we going to do for them? What's the service we're going to provide for them? And I have a concrete plan backed by facts and data that I'm ready to roll out day one after getting elected. And I think that's what makes me the better candidate. The fact that I'm well researched and always want to be the most prepared person in the room. I want to be able to speak and give sound advice on each and every topic, and I've displayed that throughout the campaign where my opponent hasn't been. I just think it shows that years of service don't equal experience. It's the intent of the person and the mission and the drive behind them. I have the mission, I have the drive to do this job for a very long time. And I'm very passionate about my profession. I'm very passionate about my relationship with the community. And with me, I believe we win.